For me, learning about it was the first thing because I didn't know really what it was. My friend Tony told me about imposter syndrome. And so I started Googling it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this actually makes sense. So for me, it's about surrounding myself with people who believe in me as much as I believe, as much as they want me to believe, right? So when I have moments of doubt, like, am I doing this right? Or I will reach out to them and be like, okay, I need to bounce something off you because I need to hear which side of my brain is right at this moment, right? Because not only do I struggle with imposter syndrome, but I also have ADHD. So my mind is always like this. So I ask them, I'll run things by them. And the best part about it is they're not yes people.
I just had the most amazing conversation with Erica Bailey. She is an established entrepreneur. She has her own podcast, the Innovative Entrepreneurs Podcast. She is a mom of, I think, 5 kiddos. But some of the things, I just really appreciate her vulnerability on this episode, talking about imposter syndrome and her just being brave to share her story with anxiety and depression as an entrepreneur. And then we wrap up the episode with some really solid business and operational tips because that is her absolute zone of genius. One of the key points that we were talking about is she recommends testing, analyzing, and optimizing anytime you have a new idea. So make sure you're listening out for that little section, but let's dive into it. So today we have Erica Bailey. She is the host of the Innovative Entrepreneurs Podcast, and she helps businesses and organizations streamline their marketing and operation strategies to improve ROI. She has published Health People Make Healthy. Is it Healthy People?
My thesis was on healthy people make healthy organizations.
Healthy organizations. I love that. So talk to me about, how do you define like a healthy person in a healthy organization? What does that mean?
Happy.
Happy.
It's really all about feeling like you are valued and appreciated, knowing that you're coming to your 9 to 5 or your business and that you're providing value because you're getting that in return. The respect of your peers and of your employers. And so when I did my thesis, it was really focused on wellness programs in the workplace. And so I did a lot of, like, back in Arizona, there was Boeing and Honeywell, and Google was bringing in there. So I learned about their programs and how they bring in yoga instructors, and they have gyms, and they buy lunches, and they do those things for their employees just to try and help keep them healthy mentally and physically. And I think that too many people forget that we are human. We're not just cogs in the system, right? And so I believed and studied that if we take care of our team, the people who are the reason we're making money, then they will be happy. And, we all have our moments where happiness doesn't really exist. And I talk about that all the time on my show. But really, it's just knowing you're doing something every day, you're bringing value and people appreciate you is a huge step towards fulfilling that wellness of your team.
So as short-term rental hosts, a lot of people have left kind of a burnout grind situation in a 9 to 5 and started something for themselves. Or they might be in a period where they're still working a 9 to 5 and being an entrepreneur. And that in and of itself breeds a lot of burnout because it's just working at both simultaneously, getting pulled in multiple different directions. What is your advice for somebody who might be facing that? How, if they don't have an employer or somebody who's doing that, how can they create that for themselves as part of their daily routine? Because at the end of the day, I'm a big believer in extreme ownership. So if my employer doesn't provide it for me, if I'm in that transition for myself, like, how do I take ownership of my happiness in my day-to-day life?
Back your own decisions, right? Like, I
Yeah.
was working for a law firm before we started CWG Digital. I was working for a law firm. I had just got my bachelor's in justice studies. I was really proud of myself. I had young kids at home, but I was still like wanted to move up in the world. And I went, and after 4 years, I asked for a promotion. I wanted to be a paralegal. And I was told that I couldn't because I was a young mother and my place was in the home with my kids. So I went back to
No,
my desk.
you're kidding me.
I went back to my desk and I packed my stuff and I left and I applied for my master's degree immediately afterwards. And I worked from home, working part time doing search engine optimization while I was finishing my master's degree. And I just made the decision that I deserved better, that I belonged. And if they weren't going to see it, then I was going to show somebody else. And then shortly after that, the 2007, 2008 market collapsed. And in Arizona, construction and real estate was everything. And I couldn't find a job. I just got my master's degree. I was graduated top 1% of my class. I couldn't find a job for anything more than McDonald's. So I said, you know what? My husband and I were like, we want to do better. We want better. So we started a business out of nowhere. And we had no money, no savings, but we chose to. And it was not easy. Like doing that with 3 young kids at home and trying to keep everybody have food on their plate, but still recognize my own value. Like that was really hard. But for me, it was about support and just finding ways to love myself. Simple as writing in a journal and just reminding myself of why I made this choice. I meditate a lot and just reminding myself I made this choice and it was the right choice to make. And so I think we can avoid burnout if we are happy with the decisions we're making. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves that. And I actually went and tried to do a job at the hospital here for about 8 months, and I wasn't happy at all. So I'm like, you know what? All right, I need to support the decision I made. And that was a time of my life where I was really struggling with depression and anxiety. I didn't know who I was. I had worked with a childhood cancer nonprofit for 9 years. Like they were my biggest client. And then the founder passed away. And so I was no longer with the company. And I didn't know where I belonged anymore. Like I had put everything into that identity. And what I forgot was who I am. And so I was going through this roller coaster of trying to figure out who I am. And I realized, I made a choice 16 years ago, and that's who I am. So I'm not saying it's, oh, you should just be able to deal with it or handle it. But I think in our minds, if we remember why we're doing it in the first place, it will help us through those moments that are just like punch in the face. Like, why am I doing this? I'm so tired. I don't like this. I don't like this. Like, find your happy place in between both. And sometimes we have to do a little bit of everything so that we can get to where we really want to be. Does that make sense?
A ton of sense. And we talk a lot about this on my team. We do a Costa Rica retreat every year. And it's all about, we have some tactical stuff for short-term rentals of like training and, just the operation side of things. I know you understand like that part of the optimization, but what a lot of people don't understand going into this trip, it's about finding your bigger why and the bigger impact behind that. And taking the time to like sit with your decisions and kind of be uncomfortable with it. And figuring out what that greater meaning and purpose and impact is so that when times get really hard, you can kind of go back, because I think that's just such a big challenge for entrepreneurs as a whole, because it's hard. Like sitting in the weeds of like all of life's responsibilities are weighing on your shoulders.
All the lives of your team
And when
are weighing on your shoulders.
yes.
It's why 80, I just did a podcast. It was about mental health and, like I was saying, mental health, anxiety, depression, imposter syndrome. And I was doing that. I learned that 89% of entrepreneurs or solopreneurs experience mental health issues, depression, anxiety, imposter syndrome. And that's not, I mean, that's hard because you have that 89%.
89%.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of it has to do with imposter syndrome. And I don't know how many people know what that is, but it's basically your mind tells you that you are not good enough or capable enough, no matter what, what the contrary is, right? And so we feel like we don't belong, we're not doing it right. That maybe I don't, like, for me, it's maybe, maybe I'm aging out of this industry, right? Do I really know what I'm doing for these companies? Like I question my own self. And I think that is what triggers this, is that we question and doubt ourselves. And that turns into depression and anxiety, and that turns into burnout. So again, it goes back to remembering what your decision is. What was your why? For me, my why was I was told I couldn't. And I'm not very good at that. But B, I wanted to be there for my kids at every football game, at every parent teacher conference, at every doctor's appointment without being told I couldn't. So like for me, that was my why, but I have to remind myself of that. Like, why don't I just go work at a job and just make it easy? But the fact is that's just not who I am. So I fight through this imposter syndrome. But it really does, it burns us out. And so that's where, again, it goes back to the wellness programs in the workplace, being happy. If we can find ways of being happy and proud of our accomplishments, it will decrease that burden that we're feeling as an entrepreneur and trying to make it like I'm giving everything. Am I even good enough? I think a lot of people struggle with that, but they don't know what it is. So we go to the doctor and we say, I'm not sleeping well, I'm not eating well, or I have this anxiety. And we're just giving medications to fix it. And the fact of the matter is what needs to be fixed is in here. Right? It's in here.
Yes. Yes. So I know you mentioned writing in a journal and going back to why you made that decision 16 years ago. How else do you combat imposter syndrome in your business? Because you have an amazing resume. Like you look at what you do on paper and you're like, what? She feels imposter syndrome?
For me, learning about it was the first thing, because I didn't know really what it was. My friend Tony told me about imposter syndrome. And so I started Googling it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this actually makes sense. So for me, it's about surrounding myself with people who believe in me as much as I believe, as much as they want me to believe. Right. So when I have moments of doubt, like, am I doing this right? Or I will reach out to them and be like, okay, I need to bounce something off you, because I need to hear which side of my brain is right at this moment. Right. Because not only is, do I struggle with imposter syndrome, but I also have ADHD. So my mind is always like this. So I ask them, I'll run things by them. And the best part about it is they're not yes people. They will tell me, okay, I don't like this. Okay, maybe you should do this. And that makes me realize, okay, you know what? I do know what I'm talking about. Right. It's also why I started my podcast, because of imposter syndrome, because I wanted to know other people's experiences. And for me, it's like I can sit across somebody whose resume I admire and, keep up with them. And so it's constant reminders. And then also therapy. I am my mom's a psych nurse practitioner. So I grew up in the mental health world, worked in mental health for 7 years. And I believe that we all need somebody to talk to, whether it's our friends, whether it's our coworkers, whether it's our moms, whether it's our spouses, or whether it's a therapist. We'll never battle we'll never be able to defeat that dragon without telling somebody our story.
I love that. So just to make sure that I'm hearing this correctly, like some of the things that you are recommending is like have a supportive community of people who aren't yes people, people who you know you can count on their opinion to tell you the truth is an amazing way to combat imposter syndrome. Have your folks who are going to tell you the truth. So that way, when they actually encourage you that you are enough, that you are capable, you actually believe them. And then challenge yourself to be uncomfortable like you did with your
It's
podcast.
being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Oh, that's good. I'm going to say that again. Be uncomfortable or be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Oh, louder for the folks in the back, including myself on that one, because oh, I have definitely experienced that as part of my like entrepreneurial journey myself. Is just the part of the reason you get part of why you get paid the I say the medium bucks because not the big bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get paid the
everybody
medium
else,
bucks.
right?
Everybody else, exactly. So part of the reason I get paid the medium bucks is because, you know, we have to solve all the problems that nobody else wants to or can fix, which means that you get a constant barrage of everyone else's problems in your business. But, you know, it's you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Otherwise, how are you going to grow? Right? Like if you go back to when we were children, you know, we had to crawl, we had to walk. Well, do you think the very first time we stood up on two legs and were wobbly that we were comfortable? If we were incapable of being uncomfortable with being comfortable with being uncomfortable, we wouldn't have taken that first step.
I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, so I'm very familiar with the current, you know, walking, crawling, toddling, and both of them are boys, so they're trying to self-destruct all the time. But they put themselves in uncomfortable situations all the time, man. I'm like, you guys have so much courage, and I think there's definitely a lesson to be learned from the courage of children because they're not afraid to fail. And I often wonder when that goes away. Do you know, like in all of your mental health and all of your studies, like when do we start becoming more aware of failure?
I think it really is learned. I think it really has to do with the first time we're told, no, we can't do something. I think it really stems from the very, you know, now parents, they know this, you know, you're going to be safe. We're trying to protect our children, right? I'm talking about the first time maybe they're at school and they're told, no, you can't play this game, or no, you can't draw this right now. It's that I can't do it, right? And I think we just are constantly told no our whole lives without allowing ourselves to be challenged. And so now we're afraid, or we're not allowed to challenge anymore, right? So we're afraid. We're afraid that we're afraid of being told no. And so I think that they grow out of it and they lose that bravery because they aren't given the opportunity to be brave.
There's a lesson there. It's definitely a lesson.
I don't know. I'm just making the stuff up as to go along.
We all are.
Yeah, that's the thing. We all are. And I'm not afraid to admit it though. You know what I mean? Like for a very long time, I was afraid to admit that I struggled with depression, anxiety, or imposter syndrome, that I struggled with my own self-worth. And I think it was probably in the last 2 years, 3 years that I'm like, I'm not embarrassed about it. Like I'm not failing. I'm human. I'm not failing. I'm human. And life happens. And so we have to face it. And if we hide, we're losing that bravery.
And how has your life changed since you decided to be brave and share that part of your story?
I've surrounded myself with the right people. No longer am I surrounding myself with people who who find ways to break me. I think for the longest time, I would put myself underneath the shadow of others so that I wasn't really seen. You know what I mean? It's like I'd rather hide. But I've noticed that I'm surrounding myself with the right people. And I've noticed that I am healing faster. So, for example, my dad was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago. He passed away last January. And I basically let my business go to, excuse my language. I let my business,
You're allowed to cuss
I
here,
let
don't
my
worry.
business crumble. I didn't care, like 15, 14 years worth of hard work. And I was like, I don't care. I didn't want to get out of bed. Didn't want to do anything. I didn't realize I was grieving. I was then shaming myself, like, you can't do this. You're not good enough. You're not worthy. And so it's like I had to find the strength to get back up, and knowing that I am okay talking about this out in public, knowing that other people are going to be listening, that business owners are going to be listening who may be looking for a marketing agency. I know that every time I open my mouth, I'm being brave. And so that has helped me, like, just help me get out of bed sometimes, you know? Sometimes it's hard to get out of bed, no matter if you work for a 9 to 5 or you're an entrepreneur. Like, again, we're not failing, we're human. And so just being able to say this out loud every time, I feel like, is just a step towards my healing. It's like I'm accepting myself for where I am in the moment. I'm doing the best I can with what I have and being okay with that, being okay with just being okay. It's big. And, you know, for me at least, it's changed my whole trajectory because now I want to wake up in the morning, get out of bed and be like, you know what? I can go toe to toe with the best of them. You know, I can. I'm worthy of it. I'm bringing value. I'm saying no to leads whose ideals don't and values don't mesh with mine. Rather than chasing money, I'm setting boundaries and recognizing that that
That's such a good
it
one.
is. It's hard to say no. It's hard to say
It is
no,
so hard to
especially
say
when the
no.
weight of a business is on your shoulders, right? To say no, this isn't going to work for me.
We're not a fit.
So
We're not.
just those little things really help that forward trajectory. But it really is starting with surrounding yourself with people, the right people.
Have you found that since you're more open to vulnerability, that you've formed deeper connections with your
Actually
clients?
just talked about this on my solo cast. Yes. I've actually become very close friends with my clients, a handful of them who I know that I would bend over backwards for, and they would do the same for me. And I believe in my heart that I do a better job for them because of that. Because to me, they're not a number on a piece of paper that gets paid every month. To me, they're real people who want to achieve a goal, and I can help them do that. And just knowing that, hey, if I have an off day and I need to tell you, hey, I'm having an off day, and not being judged for it, like, those bonds, I don't think will ever break. The ones that I've developed over the past few years. I have a client, his name is Jeremy, and he owns very successful businesses. And he is going through some seriously tragic stuff. And we have bonded so much over that I know we will be in each other's lives forever, even if we decide to break parts as a business. There will be no judgment there. It will be a decision that is made for the best interest of both people without judgment. And so, yeah, I really believe that being honest, I think people appreciate honesty more than we give them credit for. I think
I completely agree. And it goes back to feeling like an imposter. So you have to have up this wall so people don't see the cracks in your armor. And that imposter syndrome just makes you not want to be vulnerable. And it actually prevents us from doing what we ultimately want to do, which is build connection with people in our lives, whether they're business associates or, friends and colleagues and other things. I think being willing to let your guard down, as you so wonderfully shared, is the key to building those great bonds. And even as short term rental hosts, like I've found in my business that if we have a situation with a guest that we haven't necessarily shown up with our best foot forward from the beginning, that honesty and saying, hey, we didn't show up as our best. Can we make it right for you? The response that we get from actually doing that, as opposed to just saying, oh, well, here's what, just trying to glass over it, acknowledging that for somebody, admitting where we were wrong instead of having to be right, is just so much better received.
I tell
So,
clients that all the time. Like when they get bad reviews, or if somebody is not happy with their service, it's like, just tell them what really happened. Be honest, be sincere, be transparent, and they will become brand ambassadors. Right? Those are the
yep.
ones who are like, wow, they're human. They didn't fail. They're human. And those are the ones that become brand ambassadors. And that's how you build relationships and make money for living off of your business.
This is such like a random simple thing, but people ask me, should I have my logo as my Airbnb profile photo, or should I have a picture? And I said, put your face
Mhm.
right there. Otherwise, they assume it's a big corporation and it takes the humanity out of it. No matter if you have 100 properties or one property, it should be a face of a human so that they see who they are
Mhm.
talking to.
They're a guest in your home.
So,
Would you put a
yes,
logo in front of a guest? You know what I mean? That comes to spend the weekend with you. Like, I agree with you 100%. Like, for me, that is, I want to do business with them because I can see their eyes.
yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about marketing and kind of operational
The
strategies.
best part.
The best part. The best part. We could go so many different directions with this. Where do you want to go with it? You want to go marketing? You want to go
Well, I
operations?
think we could actually mix them both up, because I believe
Well,
that
let's do it.
successful marketing strategies come from well thought out operations.
Whew.
um,
Well, let's go.
I am a strategist. So my master's was in business and organizational behavior, but it's really the study of human behavior. And so
Mm,
I strongly believe that you need to have solid foundation, organization, in order to bring in clients. Marketing is just that back
okay.
end so that people know who you are. But if you don't have the
Okay.
ability to provide them with the services they're paying you for because of operations, all the money in the world that you spend is not going to get you where you want to be. So I always, we do all sorts of marketing, but for me, I like to look at the bigger picture. I will take a look at business plans, marketing plans, strat plans, financial plans, and help them figure out how to start here and make sure that when you're spending the money here, that it's bringing you ROI, that it's developing those bonds, that your team is capable of fulfilling the need. Like, it all goes together. So I like to take a look from the very beginning and disseminate, and then work backwards on where the gaps are and what we need to fill. Like, I prefer not to just fill a need, right? I would much rather, just than provide a service, I would much rather bring value. So to me, I feel like you need to take a look at the whole picture, because marketing's not going to do anything if your organization's structure is not on a solid foundation.
Amen. I am with you 1000%. So, in the short term rental space, I am known for multiple streams of revenue, like teaching people how to make their property shoppable
Okay.
through affiliate links, including influencer marketing to market their properties, and all of these different marketing things. But we have a group coaching program for people who have one
Okay.
property, at least one
Okay.
property or more, and it focuses on marketing. And I tell people all the time, I do a workshop only about marketing to tell them what they want to hear, because day one of the program, we start on their
Yeah.
operations because you are not going to be able to make the most of all of these marketing strategies unless you have a direct booking software and a website to capture people's emails and actually be able to provide a wonderful guest experience by sending them all of these messages. So they think they want this over here with the marketing, but what they really need to start off with is the ops side of things and get that running like a well-oiled machine.
I call them growth strategies.
So growth strategies. So when you are teaching people or coming into a new client, you start with a growth strategy. And is that taking like a comprehensive look at all that they
That's what I geek out on.
all at the
like, and that's really for me what I get excited about. So yeah, I will look at the whole overall picture, and I believe it all starts with like your organization's message, your mission statement, your core beliefs, your core values. I take a look at the people on your team. You need to make sure you have the right people on the bus and the right seats with the right driver in order to go far, right? I look at their business plan. You'd be surprised at how many businesses do not have a business plan.
I don't think I would be surprised by that. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are just like in the driver's seat, let's go, or jumping out of the plane and building the parachute on the way down.
And then, but that's the thing is you have no idea when you're at the place you want to be at. Like if you don't know the address of the place you're trying to get to, you're never gonna reach it.
How do you combat that mentality with kind of the pendulum swing of it for analysis paralysis? Some people just get so bogged down with trying to build out the business plan, do all of this, that they never actually take action.
It happens all the time.
And I'm just trying to think
for me, the way I do it is I try to make it exciting. Like, you know what? Let's put something down and let's test it. Let's see what we got. We can always go back and adjust and change. It's test, analyze, optimize. Like, let's get excited about this. You just put your dream on paper, and now let's see how we can get you there. But
hold on. You breezed over something that was so powerful right there. I want to make sure people don't miss it. She said, test, analyze, optimize, folks. Test, analyze, optimize. You said it in the blink of an eye, but I know people would have, it's natural to you, but it's so profound when you're getting started in this. Just test something, analyze what works, and then do more of it and optimize.
Business plans are supposed to be fluid documents. Strat plans are supposed to be fluid documents. The whole point is, okay, I've got an idea. I'm going to put it down. This is how I want to get there. And then you just try something. Like, be okay with jumping off that, because if you're standing on the edge of the cliff and all you see is this dark hole, you have no idea that there's a big fluffy cloud down there if you don't try to jump off. So it's like, do something. Like Gary Vee is one of my favorite people to watch on all time. And he says, just put stuff up. Just do something. Take a step. Mel Robbins says, pull a Band-Aid off. You go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just do it. All right. Just do it. But then you have to go back and say what worked, what didn't work. So you have to analyze the process as you go along. You're not going to get it right the very first time. Ever. You're not going to get it right the very first time. So you got to go back and be willing to say, okay, I screwed that up. All right. So what do I need to do to make it better next time? Where was that failure? Where was that flaw? So I can fail forward. So it's
fail forward.
You got to build that. So I believe that they're supposed to be fluid, that's how you will ultimately get to where you want to be. So I try to make it fun, and I try to make, help people realize that this is their dream, and dreams don't always have the greatest stories. They just don't always have the greatest stories. So you just have to go back and work on rewriting the chapters that need to be fixed.
So who is your ideal client? Who just you light up when they reach out to you and you're like, yes, I want to work on this with you? What does that look like for you? What kind
People
of
who are
businesses?
not
What kind of
afraid to, people who are not afraid of no people, right?
Mhm.
People who have a dream and will trust somebody else to help them reach that goal. It's not I'm not telling you this is how you have to do it. You're not telling me this is how I want to do it. It's how will we do this? So you're not afraid to get somebody else's advice, but you're also not afraid to kind of come back at them. So it's people who want to collaborate, who don't want to just hire you to do a job, but who want to hire you as part of their growth strategy. Like, I cannot tell you how to run your business. I don't know how to run your business. What I can tell you is my thoughts and ideas on how you may be able to improve aspects of your business. But if I don't know your side of things, like, I can't help you succeed. So it's the collaboration, people who are like, yes, okay, let's shoot ideas off of each other. Like, I'm not just going to sign a contract and mark things off when you give me a deliverable, because that's not going to get us anywhere. Not when you're looking at this from such a holistic approach. Now, there are agencies all over who you hire to do your social media, and they're going to give you 12 posts a week and, specifics, deliverables. And that's good. That works for some people, but not for the people that I want to help. Not that we don't do social media, because we do, but I want to know what is happening in that social media channel. I want to know every single step, and where ROI is coming from, and how much you're making off of each paid ad, and why people are opening your emails or why they're not opening your emails, or why they're responding to your text messages, or why they're giving you reviews, whether it's positive or negative. That why is everything. And it goes back to, like you were saying, what is your why? What is our why for doing what we're doing? What is there?
And is that why being
Exactly.
communicated in every aspect of your business? Or is it just sitting here in your heart and you're telling people what you think that they want to
Mhm.
hear instead of being
Mhm.
authentic and actually
Yeah.
telling your story?
So it's why people. I guess there's the short version of the very long statement is my ideal clients are why people.
Yeah. Are there any businesses that you were just like, I don't really work with those types of folks? Or is it like small to medium size? Like,
So
who are you working
we've
with?
done everything from solopreneurs to helping Fortune 500 companies sell for $36.1 million. Like, we have worked in all gambits. Personally, I like the small to medium sized businesses because I know that's where I can provide the most value. And I want to see
Hmm.
other people succeed. Like, for me, I don't mind sitting in the background. I am not necessarily that person that likes to be up front of everything. I want to watch other people succeed. Like, that's my selfishness, is I
Yeah.
want to be the reason other people are seeing success, or at least a big part of the reason other people are seeing success. So I like the small to medium sized businesses because I think that they are more intimate.
Hmm.
But like I said, we've done things for both gambits, but that's where my happiness is.
I love that. I mean, knowing that helps you really clue in and say, yeah,
And
this is a fit for me, or no, this isn't a fit for me. And
that's where the values and the
um,
boundaries go.
it's mhm, exactly, exactly. So, one question that we ask everyone on our show is, what is a time in your life that change has brought about an unexpected opportunity?
Ooh. Um, when I was told I couldn't do it. Like, literally, that is probably the starting point of me design or creating my life by design and not by default. So that moment where I was told what to do, that I couldn't because of somebody else's opinions. That was the kickstart to all of this. To me, going and get my master's degree, to me, helping these companies just grow into something phenomenal. For me, working with the children in the childhood cancer foundations, like that right there was the pivotal point. I could have gone back to my desk and kept working. I could have, but I made the choice to pack my stuff up that very moment. And although I knew I didn't have income and I knew I had kids at home and a husband that was going to be pissed, I packed my stuff up and I walked through that elevator and I left. And I think that was the most powerful moment of my career, was when it just started.
I love that. And I want to make sure you guys don't miss what she said. That is when she started to create a life by design and not by default. That's so powerful. That's so powerful. Erica, where can folks find more of you, what you're doing, reach out? Where can we find you?
So my website is www.cwgdigital. You can see it on my face right there. That is my marketing agency. You can also search for Erica Bailey, Innovative Entrepreneurs. Like, I'll give you the links and stuff, but I love it.
Yeah. We'll make sure it's in the show notes, guys.
People reach out to me and send me instant messages just out of the blue. So don't hesitate.
Okay.
Find me and I will be more than happy to.
Yes. Are you on LinkedIn? Is that your primary platform?
My primary platform, believe it or not, is Facebook. And it's kind of where I started. I started on Facebook, really coming out of, packaging. And so that's when I started social media. And so it's kind of my place. And I know it's not really where my target audience is, but it's where the people are. So
it's where you're comfortable, and it's where you show up, and that's where you're connecting with folks. I say go for it. So we'll make sure that you guys have all of Erica's information as well as her podcast, so you guys can go listen to those wonderful stories over on her podcast. But thank you so much for being here and being so vulnerable and sharing your story with us today. It was really powerful and encouraging.
It's my honor. And I'm excited to have you on mine. We're going to continue this conversation. It's going to be fun.
We're going to continue the conversation. The party's just getting started, guys. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you so much.